I didn't queue up any games to run today. I had, what, Krautbuster running the last time? It just was like, I don't even think people were paying attention to it. Light up! Hey, man. Glad you could make it. Good to see you. This is what I miss. Start doing videos and editing and filming stuff, and don't get to see the names pop up in the channel and talk to you guys live. So I definitely was looking forward to doing this just for an hour or so tonight, just to reconnect with everybody. Hey man, getting lit. What's up? It's good to see everybody. It's a bummer. I know, like, last year, this time, I think we're a little over a month maybe, light up, that we met up at Too Many Games, and it just didn't happen, and they canceled for September. So it's a bummer, all those cons getting canceled. Yeah, I think I mean, I think the content's genuine. I mean, it's not really. I mean, I certainly have said things that people don't agree with, and have taken fire for that. So, you know, everything is my honest opinion, whether or not it's popular. Did I ever update my Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro? Yeah, I did the Hilo hack for that recently. Oh, the virtual racing session with Lily. Yeah, I gotta. She hasn't played the arcade either since we did that video. I've been trying to get her to do that. Hey, Sling Spade. Retro, what's up, man? Saw you're gaming and drinking, and here's the third part of the puzzle. Stopping in for a ScarletSprites live stream. Yellow and Black. Still on lockdown. Oh, man. Yeah, things are okay here. I mean, they're not great by any stretch, but we're still out and doing stuff. Giovanni, what's up, man? Good to see you, too. Yeah, just backing up to that comment about the Hilo hack and my Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro. Like, if you guys haven't seen those videos or some of those hacks that those guys have put out for the Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro, definitely check it out. I mean, it adds the entire Neo library to your Arcade Stick Pro, so it's definitely worth your time and the investment in a $7 USB stick. I do like quality and authenticity. I mean, I think I've taken a little bit of flack for some of that. It's not like I despise everything else. It's just, you know, at this point, I actually just did a video. I was talking about the Xbox, the original Xbox. And I don't know if it's a video for everybody. It was something that I worked on. I pulled out my original Xbox just to take a look at it and see what was on there, because I hadn't powered it up in 15 years. And there's a lot of arcade stuff on there, and I kind of went through it and filmed some of the gameplay. And it's just kind of always where I've been. But, I mean, 15, 16 years ago, I mean, I was emulating stuff on the Xbox and playing it, and that was how I got my Neo Geo fix back then. Hey, Super RetroPie, what's happening, man? And Spain is in the house. Ian Hobbies. Row Dark One. Yeah, I mean, definitely pick up the Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro. The hack really opens everything up. Getting lit. You're pretty much opened up here in Florida. I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm not gonna call out your state, but it doesn't look good on the news. Finally being able to play the shoot 'em ups on the Hilo makes the stick an investment worth it. Yeah, I mean, and everything, right? Like, you got everything. Access to the beat 'em ups, you got the puzzle games. I mean, literally everything. The only thing I couldn't quite get running was what was it? The Irritating Maze, which I don't think too many people are sad about that anyway. But you need the Unibios to boot on that one to get it to the controller hack, because it's a trackball game. The Mahjong games are, I mean, I don't know if I've ever even attempted playing that without the controller. I actually, you're asking about the update for the high-low hack. I honestly don't know. I know there's been rolling updates. There's, I think, I'm going to get his name wrong, Neo C. Vera. He has a channel. He's one of the guys working on it. He has a YouTube channel. And he posts updates pretty regularly. I just haven't kept up with it since the big version came out that everybody grabbed. Oh, broken saves. Yeah, I mean that I don't know. I know they pushed out a fix for that, and I tried to cover that in the update video and link it out, and I know that's been a mess too. It's just like trying to get the links to stay active. That's impossible for me to stay up with that and live a normal life. So the best I can tell people is to hit the Reddit channel and see if you can get new links. The puzzle games that I like, I would say Magical Drop 3, and then there's a weird one that not too many people talk about, but it's I'll butcher the name, Gururin, and it's a really bizarre game just where you're bringing layers of people in and dropping them down on top of each other, and you can kind of rotate the jar or whatever that you're putting them in. It definitely it's unique if nothing else. Check that out. But Magical Drop 3 would be like the standard answer for a good puzzle game on the Neo Geo. There's some decent puzzle games though. Yeah, Irritating Stick. It came out for PlayStation. It's a sequel, I guess, of sorts, or maybe a reboot. I don't know how you want to label it, but Irritating Maze is on Neo, and Irritating Stick is the version that was released for PlayStation. It's basically the same. If you've played Irritating Stick, then you know what Irritating Maze is. Oh yeah, yeah, that's a good one too, Gendo. That's a tough game to find now. Not Magical Drop 3. Hochi and Nia that's an expensive one these days. Do I collect on other platforms or only Neo Geo? I wouldn't. It's odd. The next closest thing I think I had that I really collected hard for was the Wii U. I've got a pretty healthy Wii U collection. I know that probably surprises some people. I have a lot of NES games, Super Nintendo as well, but nothing that I really actively pursue all that hard anymore. Yeah, Alan's talking about that air compressor on the Irritating Maze cabinet. It's pretty cool. I mean, I've seen pictures, but I've never actually played on one. I always thought that would be kind of cool to get the Centipede Arcade 1-Up cabinet and load up, because it has the trackball on it, and you could make like a mini Irritating Maze nod, to the original. I thought that would be kind of cool. Very niche. Can't imagine there's a big market for that, but I thought it'd be kind of neat. Yeah, I mean, as far as collecting too, I've done another thing that I don't think I've shown much of. I collected a lot of Amiibo there for a while, just when they first came out, just because they were essentially Nintendo figures that were being officially issued from Nintendo, and I've since given up on that, but I got a lot of the original, the first and second runs that they did. But I pretty much EverDrive a lot of the games that I play now. So I mean, there's, you guys have seen the Mega SD for Sega CD games and my Genesis games, and so I don't really go out and buy too many carts. And most of the ones that I do have now are games that I had as a kid, or they have some type of nostalgic value. But I'm not making like complete runs or trying to assemble complete collections on any other systems really outside of Neo. Oh wow, I'm sorry to hear that about your Wii U. I just have a USB running on my Wii U hack, and so far so good. And the Sega Saturn, that's a funny, Kenster just asked about that. That's a funny thing I'll bring up, because I know the optical drive emulator just came out for that, and Dreamcast from Terra Onion, everyone's been talking about that recently. I've never played Sega Saturn, ever. I've never played it. I mean, maybe that's a lie. In the kiosk in the store, if that counts, but I never knew anybody that had a Sega Saturn. Even in college, we just never played it, and I never owned one. Don't own any Saturn games. It looks like a great system. I love Sega stuff, obviously. Just have never played Saturn. Yeah, there was a lot of rarity with the elusiveness of the amiibo. Man, people lining up at stores and stuff, and all of that. Oh man, you know, it's funny, MK Solid, you're asking about the Astro City lineup. I've seen a few people ask about that. I don't know. Like, I feel like it's such a tough call because they could go any direction with that lineup on the Astro City. I'm hoping they source some third-party games. You know, there's 6 buttons. We've already kind of talked about that. There's 6 buttons on the controller. And I don't know that any of the games that were shown so far use the 6 buttons, so you have to kind of think that eventually we're going to see something licensed from someone else, or they're going to go a little bit deeper into their own library. But yeah, I mean, that'd be a great one to add. PS5 or Xbox Series X? I'm going to be honest with you on that. You guys would know more about those two systems than I would. I really have not kept up. Haven't paid attention. I don't have a PS4, don't have an Xbox One. I just, yeah, I don't know. I've been an Xbox fan, I would say, when I made the switch from Nintendo. It was Xbox 360. Didn't have a PlayStation 2, 3, or 4. But I know Xbox has dragged a little bit more recently, and PlayStation seems to have the more popular games. Not trying to start a fight or anything. Yeah, I know Knights is a pretty popular game for Saturn. Yeah, you're mentioning the racing games for that. Somebody was talking about that too. I mean, obviously, I guess you're playing that with a controller unless they're coming out with some type of major attachment that I can't imagine would have a big market. But obviously, Sega, major player in the racing game department for arcade. I mean, not all, but a lot of top racing games in the 90s were Sega. I mean, we were just talking about Outrun 2 the other day even, and that's a great game too. When are you going to play Streets of Rage 4? Whenever I get a Nintendo Switch again. I have the physical copy of Streets of Rage 4 that I pre-ordered, and I don't have a Switch to play it on right now. So whenever I get that, or whenever they come back in stock, I guess. What's my Astro City mini wish list? Oh man, that's tough. I don't know if I can go through an entire list off the top of my head right now, but I would say that I think they definitely need to source some Capcom games. I know people have talked about Darkstalkers getting the shaft, more or less, and kind of has been forgotten about, and I would like to see that probably pop up on the Astro City if they can get the license for it. 24 people watching and only 6 likes. You know, I appreciate that. If I did this for numbers, I would probably just quit. I just kind of enjoy it as a side hobby of the hobby, but I appreciate that. Yeah, views and a little bit of publicity is never a bad thing. Hey Mike, what's up, man? Bedrooms to Billions PlayStation Revolution documentary. I'd be interested in watching that for sure. Hey Lasher. Looking for Neo Geo collectors and enthusiasts? Yeah, well, you came to the right place. That's pretty much what the channel is. Yeah, if I don't do something arcade or Neo Geo related, chances are the video doesn't do well. So expect to see more Neo Geo and arcade stuff. I mean, honestly, that's the kind of stuff that I'm into, and we were talking about authenticity and being genuine, and that is kind of where the passion is. It's hard for me to just jump in and do news and things like that from time to time, so I know that stuff's popular, but if it ties back to Neo Geo or the arcade, like the Astro City Mini, the Hilo hack that came out for the Arcade Stick Pro, that's when I'll probably hop in and do some more news related items. But yeah, if you came for Neo Geo, you can probably expect to see more of that. Yeah, Ninja Saviors. I've seen videos of that. Like I've watched people play. I mean, that's kind of funny. Like that's how I never, the whole streaming thing and watching people play video games and stuff, like I never really got into that much. But now that I don't have those systems, I'll tune in here and there sporadically, or just pick up a video and check out some of the gameplay or real gameplay and watch somebody play for a few minutes just to get a feel for what some of those newer games are, since I don't buy them or play them. What was the hardest Neo Geo game to track down? Honestly, it's probably one of the ones that we just talked about. Irritating Maze was a real beast to try to find. I actually got a tip from somebody that is subscribed to the channel that it was listed in a lot with some other games on eBay, and I was able to get it that way, but it doesn't come up that often. Holy Grail of arcade cabinets I wish I could get. That's so tough. This is a weird one. I'll throw it out. There's probably two. Time Traveler would be one, and I know right away people are going to say it's a trash game, and it probably is. Not probably, it is. But I got a lot of nostalgia tied to it. It's a Sega game. It's a cool looking like cabinet. They're trying to be futuristic with like the white like fiberglass and everything. It was just kind of cool how it like projected, and I used to like playing that. I think it was like something absurd, like $1.50 or something like that to play that game at Hershey Park back in the day, and it was just like basically a new Dragon's Lair. It was hard to control, it was hard to time things, but yeah, Time Traveler is probably a pretty cool cabinet that I wouldn't mind having, but they're outrageously expensive when you do find them. I talked to somebody in Texas that had sourced one, and I think he told me he sold it for 10 grand to an arcade that opened up down in Texas, and they used it as like the centerpiece. I don't remember where that was, but when you walk in the door, they had it like right at, you know, the hologram thing right there in the front, which is pretty neat. I'm looking at True Sinister's comments here about the Neo Geo community. You know, there is a Neo Geo forum that is notorious for that type of thing, and you know, I will say this, I'm not going to dwell on the negatives. The arcade projects forum that is Dark Sauce forum, and I know there's drama like everywhere you turn, and people will have things to say about some of the things that have gone on there too, and the multis and whatnot. But that forum in general, the arcade projects forum, is full of good people who will help you, people who will answer questions, not be derogatory. It's a pretty good forum to go to if you're just looking to talk Neo, and there's a Neo forum there that you can go in, and I think there's general arcade help and things like that you can you know, talk to people about, and it's for the most part a pretty good group. Insight into finding an Astro City down south. Man, I know, it's funny, I get asked that question a lot. Actually, even Corey from My Life in Gaming texted me and asked if I had any leads on an Astro City like out in Ohio. I just don't. I mean, it was so hard to even source the one that I have that I got a couple years ago, and those things pop up here, especially on the East Coast. It sounds like you guys aren't full of them down there in the South either. It's just they're just so tough. If you're anywhere outside of California, most cases you end up paying for them to be shipped. And there's a guy in speaking of the arcade projects forum, There's a guy on there named KC who has a warehouse, and the conditions of the cabs vary that he has, and there's some things that are hit or miss. You're not going to get something like squeaky clean, but I know people source through him on the forum. Sometimes there's like cargo containers people buy, and they go in on a group buy. There's 10 of them that come over, but that's always a gamble, giving somebody that kind of money to organize that. It's just a tough thing. I mean, the best I can say, there was getting a little off track, but like a Capcom Mini Cute. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but one of those popped up in York, Pennsylvania on Facebook randomly just one night while I was like scrolling, and I had messaged the guy, and of course he had already had like 6 people try to buy it. But things do pop up randomly. You just kind of got to keep your eyes peeled. Did I see MC Murr drop in? I thought I saw dudes like recording videos, running live streams, and here he is in my live stream. Oh, it says this video is inappropriate for some viewers. That's okay. That I don't keep the kids at home. Like I don't need that. Have you ever seen the mini Neo cabs at Play Minimal? I don't know if that's a question, a conversation you guys are having, or if that was to me, but I have not. Oh man, you got 3 Astro City cabs and 3 new Astro City cabs. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, you bought them all at once. I don't know if that was because of shipping. Sometimes you can get like a decent lock on shipping, and things are a little bit cheaper. That's why I got the Blast City and the Astro City at the same time, because the guy who sold them to me said he could like basically like wrap them together and pallet them, and it still was not cheap, but it was better than shipping 2 individually. The Lily Paints Pixel Trees channel. Lily, she's got her own channel to manage. She better like figure that out, because I don't think she's uploaded anything in like a year or 2. Prehistoric Island 2. I like that game. I know it gets a lot of heat for pre-rendered graphics, but I mean, it's the 90s, so like what do you want, right? Like people were experimenting and trying different things. I know if the AES games that Pixel Heart are putting out are just converts, repros, custom boards. I saw those. Somebody brought those to my attention, the AES games that they're putting out. And I know I've seen a few of those in the past. I honestly don't know. I don't know how they're doing those. I don't know if they're I've never seen the inside of one of them. I'm sure you might be able to ask that on a forum. Maybe somebody in here has already bought one of those, but I don't collect AES carts, so I've never bought any of those games and don't really know. MVS to AES converters for games. I think so. I've never owned, because again I don't have an AES and I don't play my MVS carts on an AES, but I've heard that some of the games it's not like 100% compatibility, so you might want to do a little googling. And I know there's like one of the converters that's usually touted as better than the others, so might want to look those up or hit the forums and see what people are saying. Oh, I have 2 thumbs down. Oh, there's Lily. How do I have 2 thumbs down on this stream when one of them was probably you? Oh, thanks, Mike. Yeah, the MK, the Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 boards from Lions 3, he does some really nice work with Plexi. I wouldn't mind picking up the STV board plates that he's doing, but he said they might come back in stock this week. Definitely a cool site. I mean, Plexi's not, it's not, cheap, but it makes the board look good, and especially for some of those Wolf boards and older PCBs, they start to warp. So getting them mounted flat in that is pretty nice. X arcade cabinets, I've seen them. They look pretty decent for what they are. I've never played on one, so it's hard for me to comment on, you know, because I've never actually touched one and, you know, played a game on it. But it looks like a decent cabinet. It's definitely not a bad way to go if you're looking for an arcade and you don't want the grind of maybe cleaning something up or cleaning it, or, you know, any types of repairs, and you just kind of want that modern feel. Like, it's probably not a bad way to go. I think Retro Ralph talks a little bit about those on his channel. Oh, the Japan game online converter. Is that any good? Like if you, I mean, I don't know how many games you have or have tried with it, but is it working for you? Yeah, Rex, there are people that like hang on to every word like that. It's interesting because I never, before I started doing YouTube, I never really, I mean, obviously you just wouldn't think about that kind of stuff, but it is interesting like how, you know, even like right now, like being live and somebody will take something I say like in the moment, like not recognizing like, yeah, like I'm just live talking to a bunch of people. Like if your life was recorded and everything you ever said or did at work, or, you know, and you make one little slip up or you fumble a word or you call it, and then people just hang on, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's just, it's crazy. But it's just how it is. Is Killer Instinct a rare game, a Nintendo game, or a Midway game? I think Killer Instinct, like the arcade game, I think was a Rare game. It was developed by Rare and I thought published by Nintendo and then put in like a Midway cabinet, right? Like I think that's how that went. Which cabinet has the best monitor in your collection? You know, the Astro City, I might give that the nod because it's so much bigger than all of the other monitors. Well, the Blast Cities is about, well, it is the same size. I think they're touted as 29-inch monitors. In you know, American, that's actually 27 inches. But yeah, it's a nice big monitor, decent chassis in good shape, gives a really good picture. Oh, that's pretty good. So if you, so your Lasher's saying that his converter works pretty good for 29 games. I mean, that's pretty stellar. Rex, simple answer is yes. Yeah, Killer Instinct boards aren't cheap, surprisingly. It's interesting because, like, I always thought Killer Instinct was a pretty popular game, and popular arcade titles have a tendency to be at least relatively cheap if they're mass produced because there's a lot of them out there. But then at some point you have that opposite effect, and somebody was talking about that recently with Contra on Nintendo. It's a massively like high volume produced cartridge, and there's a lot of them out there, but it's also a popular game, so people who are kind of sort of getting into Nintendo, that's one of the games they want to go out and grab, so that also drives the price up. It's kind of a conundrum. Hey Mike, any thoughts on trying to burn your own Samurai Showdown Perfect EEPROMs play on an original hardware? Yeah, I mean, thoughts are I would love to do that. I'd have to take a look at the different boards and then figure out what it would run on. I think somebody's already done that. I don't know if I've seen the boards and the pics on what they used, but I think that's definitely a possibility. Yeah, Battletoads, I saw that trailer today. I know a lot of hubbub about some of the designs and the art and whatnot. And yeah, I know there's a little bit of a lag. It's from the camera I'm using. I'm using actually the camera I film with, so it's a 4K camera that's going down to 1080p. And thanks, Lily. I appreciate calling out the lag. That's probably why it got all the thumbs down. Hey, Diana. Yeah, I at some point I would like to like not use the camera that's causing the lag here, and apologize for that. I'll probably switch back to just using the camera on my phone. The webcam on the laptop just isn't great, and people were complaining about that last time too, that it looked grainy or whatever. So it's like, do you want lag in a nice video? Do you want grainy from a webcam? Maybe I can use my phone, but that locks up. I just need an actual webcam, and they've kind of gotten hard. They've become hard to find. Dave is asking, is this the first one of these? The live stream? I've done I think 2 other live streams before. And did I finish the Neo Geo collection? Find out August 8th at LI Retro. Looking for a legitimate ironclad ROM on cart that isn't a hack. Yeah, that's actually one of the Neo Geos that Neo Geo repros that I did do, was the ironclad. But at this point, I don't know. It's tough. It's a lot of work, and you need to tear apart carts and desolder a bunch of chips. You still got to buy the cart that you need that matches. I don't know. A lot of the CD, not a lot, the CD games do run on the Neo SD now, so that might be a way to go. I know that's not cheap, but if you're interested in playing the CD games, and I know the Samurai Showdown Perfect ROM that we were just talking about, I know that runs on the Neo SD. You won't get any help in the forums on Terra Onion for that, because they're trying to support the developers, but it does run on that. Yeah, the audio delay on the mic was set before I started all of this, and it matched up. I did 3 tests and checked it out, so it just is what it is. Yeah, Battletoads, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to stay positive about the artwork there, but it does, I don't know. Streets of Rage looks pretty good. I mean, and people, that got a pretty favorable review, so you know, I guess we'll see how Battletoads shakes out. Favorite Metal Slug? That's a tough one. I mean, I usually defer to the first, just because it's so classic. I love the first Metal Slug, and it just kind of started the series. But I think everybody kind of leans more towards the third being the pinnacle, and it's kind of downhill from there. I don't know. I would say 1 for me personally, and then maybe 3, and then X. Oh, Chris ordered Project Neon. Yeah, I know that they've been working on that. I haven't seen too many updates more recently. I think he animated one of the bosses, and that looked pretty good. So I'm interested to see that come out. Yeah, the Dark Queen thing is interesting. I think they really sanitized that to try to appeal to a more wide audience. I mean, I see MC Mur commented it looks like a Nickelodeon cartoon, and I think that's probably intentional, that the Dark Queen does not have like her dominatrix outfit on, because you can market it more towards kids and whatnot, and get a broader audience to try to sell that. Yeah, and that too, more appeal to people who don't buy video games. Yeah, Metal Slug X. I mean, that's pretty cool. That, I mean, thinking back, like SNK put out 2, knew that it wasn't great, didn't want to call the next one 3, so we got to clean it up a little bit. We don't want 2 to just be a disaster, You know, they knew they had a decent series on their hands, so clean it up, fix it, call it X, put it out there, and then we'll just move on to 3. You know, kudos to them for doing that. Oh, Paper Mario, huh? I haven't played, boy. I haven't really played any of the Paper Marios more recently. I still haven't opened up Color Splash for Wii U. Oh, Battletoads and Double Dragon. That's a fun game. Open world final fight with Hagar as the main wrestling match, career side quest with government duties and crime fighting main story. That's funny. It's like Sim Mayer starring Final Fight characters. I was saying I wouldn't mind an F-Zero game done Gran Turismo style, where you're just upgrading, you know, your racer with science fiction parts. Like, that'd be really cool, like in a career mode. Yeah, the Final Fight 3D. Yeah, I don't know about that. What drove you to this profession and obsession? Well, this definitely is not a profession. The audio lag is any indication of the professionalism. It's really just a hobby. I just, you know, I just collect video games and play video games just like you guys do, but this is a splinter of that and just something additional to do for fun. I've never played Cuphead. I waited a while back because I was like, oh, that'll come out limited run, or somebody will do that for a physical copy. I'm just gonna wait, and I'm still waiting. So I've never played Cuphead. And yeah, I have seen Bithead. I know a couple of the guys that follow me really like him, and I've checked out some of the stuff that he's made and done. He's really talented. He does a really good job with his channel. An X-Men game done like Dynamite Deca. Yeah, I really like that series. I have the second one that net boots on the Naomi. That's fun. I played through that with a friend in the fall, I guess, before all the nonsense hit. I skipped your question. Well, just ask me later when the live stream is done and I'm downstairs. I don't need to answer your questions in the chat. This is other people's time. Stop being selfish, Lily. Yeah, I'm not even on Instagram all that much, honestly. I've got to, I should go back and look and see. And that's always becomes a thing, like who follows me, who doesn't, and then I got to go back and check, and it just yeah, I'm sorry. It's never any disrespect to anybody on there. It just becomes so crowded, and yeah, social media in general. I usually try to keep up with YouTube, and then I at one point I tried to. I was like, oh, I'm just going to delete Instagram. I don't really do anything with it. So, but then, I don't know. I'll check it out, though. It's Lily my girlfriend? It's my wife, actually. So none of the 3 things that you mentioned, but all good guesses. My top 5 Neo Geo shoot 'em ups. I mean, Polestar has a real special place in my heart just from playing that one summer and just memorizing it to get through it. I really like the music. I know it's a ripoff of R-Type. I don't care. I just really like playing Polestar. That stands out as probably my top. Blazing Star, I mean, it's very similar. It's right behind that. Prehistoric Isle, I know we talked about that, more pre-rendered graphics, but it's just fun to run around and shoot dinosaurs. It's something a little bit different. Alpha Mission 2 has grown on me more than I thought it would initially when I first started playing it again. You know, the graphics aren't anything too stellar, but it's still fun to rip through that. And my fifth, I don't know. I really I really despise a lot of things about Viewpoint. I mean, its difficulty is through the roof. I would say Viewpoint's probably the hardest Neo Geo shooter that there is. But I still like it. I like the music. I like that they dared to do something a little bit different. That isometric viewpoint. It's pretty cool. Oh, you assumed I was going to do a video on the original Xbox. I actually am working on something with the original Xbox. I don't know that it'll be for everybody, but I'll put that out. Instagram is only for looking at hot chicks bending one leg and flexing their calf muscles. Yeah, I mean, if I was 20 years younger, maybe that would be my go-to. Not really checking that out with Lily around. Oh yeah, Samurai Showdown. So I mean, Samurai Showdown 5 Perfect. I have Special for MVS. Perfect I have on the high-low hack, and that's how I've been playing it. Hey, Threshold, by the way, another big arcade guy, does amazing work, restorations, puts together some beautiful cabs. Talking about looking at Instagram and people who post cool stuff, Threshold, you do some really good work. Big Family Gaming, what's up, BFG? The Sengoku series, I do like the Sengoku series. I would say I like the first two. The third one, I think art-wise, is really impressive. It looks good, but it's so repetitive. I really struggle to get through 3. I try to find something that I like about it that I may have missed, and convince myself that I've overlooked something. But the Sengoku 3 is just so repetitive. I want it to be so much better than it really is. I think 2's pretty good and probably the best in the series if I were going to rate them, and then 1, and then 3. I also didn't know until maybe even like a year ago that was on Sega CD for, well, Mega CD. It wasn't released in the States. Oh yeah, I forgot, BFG, you were working on that Virtua Cop 2. That's unfortunate that you didn't get that up yet. Yeah, I'm still working on mine actually in the basement right now. Yeah, R-Type, I mean, the Polestar just gets... there's even like a rumor, I don't know if it's ever been confirmed, but they were saying that there are some of the developers who like moved over and basically just recreated everything they had done for R-Type for Polestar, and I don't know if that's true or not, if there's any validity to that, but I've heard people, or I've seen people post that multiple times in forums and stuff. The second console that I collect for the most, I mean, I kind of mentioned earlier, I was probably the Wii U. I pretty much stopped on Super Nintendo, Nintendo. I have a handful of TurboGrafx 16 and PC Engine games, but I have EverDrives for all those systems now, and the games that I have in the collection are just ones that I had as a kid. Some of them, thankfully, are the actual games that I had, like that had been given as a kid. and a lot of the Nintendo ones unfortunately are not, because I had to go back and pick those up. I actually posted on Twitter, I think just this week, I had this idea in the 90s that the 3DO was going to be like what PlayStation eventually was, and it was hyped so much at the time. Couldn't afford it, obviously, when it first came out. It was ridiculous, but then it saw a price drop and went to like $399, and I was like, well, if I can save up like all summer and you know, mow some lawns and do stuff like that, and then maybe sell off my Nintendo collection, I could buy a 3DO. And I did, and a lot of complete in-box games went out the door when I did that. I want to say that was probably like 96-ish, I think, 96. Die Hard Arcade, I know, was one of those games I sold, which I saw like that goes for a lot of money. I mean, $200-300, which is substantial. And I probably sold it for like $10 complete in box at the time. Oh, I'm glad you like the Green Lantern cap. This is actually an old hat. I tried to wear it that one time in the video, not thinking, and obviously you can't green screen when you've got green on your. So then I had to like wedge in like something behind me when I was editing the video, and just to make it not like yeah. So I can't wear this hat whenever I do the videos, even though I want to. I probably need flash or something like that instead. Oh, I have played a Vectrix before. I just saw that pop up in the chat. I look at them. We were just talking about conventions, too many games. I always see them at conventions, and every now and then they'll pop up online, and those things have gotten outrageously expensive too. I mean, they're a couple $100 now. So I like the Vectrix. I have played on a Vectrix. There was a kid 2 streets down from me growing up that had one, and I don't even think it was his. I think it was his dad's. And we used to get it out and play it, and it has like the little overlays that you could, you know, change the colors of the the vector graphics. It's pretty cool. I mean, I would definitely buy one of those, but I'm not spending hundreds of dollars on one of those. And Lily's watching. Oh, you replaced the Gold Star 3DO laser. It's funny. I don't know what that process is like. I can't relate, but I did replace the Panasonic. My original 3DO, I did replace the laser on that, and it wasn't too terrible. It was basically I just took apart an Apple CD drive, and it was almost a drop-in replacement, if I recall correctly. What year was I born? I don't mind sharing that. I'm 41. I was born in 79. Yeah, the FC1 has a drop-in replacement laser. It's I want to say it off the top of my head, so don't write this down, but I think it's a CR563 is the replacement drive for an FC1, I think. So you might want to Google that. You wear your hat backwards too because you can't afford a tattoo on your head. Yeah, my hair's pretty long. Yeah, I see you're asking that question. I mean, you can kind of see I've got like this whole thing going on. So I have not. Lily is definitely not cutting my hair. She has offered to do that. We're not going to allow that. I definitely am going to just go and get it cut at some point. But I don't have to go into work. I'm work from home. I am on Zoom a lot during a day, which also inhibits my. It doesn't always make me want to film or do live streams when you're on video a lot during the day with work now. But the point is, I really don't have to go in, and I can kind of like, you know, I don't have to have my hair cut. So I just haven't. Are you one of those gentlemen who consoleizes arcade boards to play your TV with a console controller? I mean, I don't do that. I have a consoleized MVS board that I play. I mean, that's my primary Neo Geo. JNX did that. James Whalen over at Jamination did it for me. I mean, it's not terribly complex to do. I mean, if you can solder, you can read, and you can get a little bit of help. I know it's not terribly difficult, but James just does such good work. He had all the parts and put that together. I know people are doing PGM consoles more recently. I've seen that pop up. That saw a little bit of a spike, I think, in popularity. So I saw a consoleized PGM board that somebody did recently. CPS 2, I think, has become a little bit more popular. There's the Darksoft mod, basically, so you load it all up. You've got one console. All the games are right there on it. Consoleize the board, and you're off and running. So I don't personally do that, though. Rex says, one of my few 3DO games, Need for Speed. It's the first 3DO game I remember playing. Yeah, and Need for Speed came out on 3DO long, well, I don't want to say long before, but what, a year, maybe 2 years before it hit something else? I feel like that's true. It definitely was, maybe it was on, you could play it on PC, but I feel like that was the first time I ever saw Need for Speed, and it wasn't until a year or two later that I think it hit PlayStation. Again, people can probably fact check me. I'm not Googling this. I saw trivia for unfortunate trivia. I don't mean to be a downer. I saw that guy had cancer. The guy that was in Need for Speed on 3DO. He's like the guy that kind of harasses you in the full motion video sequences. I saw he passed away. I think that was last year. Yeah, and Mike is calling out like the super guns. Like that's definitely you know, another way to go, and it actually gives you a little bit more versatility with boards, because you can hook a super gun up to, you know, different PCBs and systems. Lily always keeps me on my toes. Don't worry about that, Mike. The Pandora's box. I don't know. I had a Pandora's box 2-3 years ago. I saw the recent ones have an SD card slot, and you can load up your own games on them. So it's not a, you know, again, the whole genuine authenticity thing. Like, yeah, I like that stuff. It's like, do I like prime rib? Sure, I'll take that any day. But you know, I'm not a snob. I'll go through the McDonald's drive-thru and have that hamburger. So, but yeah, definitely, you know, get a quick fix with some Pandora boxes on a cabinet. It's a good plug and play and a good way to experience some of those games if you're not going to go all in on buying boards, or you just can't. Like, sure, have at it. Oh, you're going to pour one out? Rex is going to pour one out for the Need for Speed guy. Just let him have it. I need to do these live once a week. I need to get a webcam is what I need. I need an actual legit webcam that where I don't have to put some janky thing together to try and stream. So once I get a legit webcam, I have no problems just firing this up and doing this like for an hour once a week. Am I getting an analog pocket? No, and I took a little bit of fire for that on Twitter too. I made a joke, and it was tongue in cheek. I basically said, you know, because it was delayed. I think I said you have to wait a little bit now to play the worst versions of all your favorite arcade games. But you know, certainly recognizing that you know, Game Boy and Game Gear and those consoles definitely had titles of their own that were not, you know, arcade ports or anything like. I'm just trying to be a jerk coming from an arcade standpoint, but it's not entirely false though, right? Like that was kind of how things were back in the day. The arcade was the reference point. It got ported to your Super Nintendo or Genesis. You hoped that the translation was pretty good and serviceable. And then there was some cash grab that came out on your Game Boy or Game Gear, some trash version of a game, you know, like Mortal Kombat with 2 buttons or whatever. And that's the joke I was making. But to answer your question, I'm probably not getting an analog pocket. I do like analog consoles though. I like the Mega SG. I like the Super NT, but mobile gaming, I never got into it. I had an original Game Boy and I played it. I liked it. You know, on trips in the car or whatnot, I'd play it, but I just never, you know, I never sat around at home and just played that. You know, I always just would go to the Atari or my Nintendo, and I don't know, portable gaming just never caught on for me. I like games with full motion video from the 90s. That's a major cheese factor. They're kind of like the Mystery Science Theater of video games, and you play them for reasons other than the gameplay, and I do enjoy that. Mad Dog McCree, I loaded that up on the Wii U. I don't really, maybe I'm not doing something right with the calibration on the Wiimote, but it's just not the same as the light gun. I like it because it looks good. Mad Dog McCree has never looked better, but yeah, the Wiimote, it's weird to play it with that in my mind. So some of those games like Donkey Kong and Burger Time that aren't too hardware heavy, you know, sure, those came out looking okay on the Game Boy. Mike, you got refunded on the NT Mini. I'm assuming you canceled your order or something for that. I don't have the NT Mini or the I didn't order that from Analog. I have the high def NES kit installed. Oh, I said NES. You guys are going to tell on me. I always said NES as a kid. So I try to correct myself now when I can, but it'll slip every now and then. And I always go back to Nintendo Power when, was it Howard and Nestor in the comic at the end of Nintendo Power? His name's Nestor, and so I always thought that was a play on NES, like Nestor, and so I always said NES whenever I would reference the Nintendo. And I know that's a divisive talking point. You want to talk about masks versus anti-maskers? Talk NES versus NES. Street Fighter 2 for Game Boy is an amazing port. Okay, so I see what you're saying. Like it's an amazing technical achievement for its time, but it's certainly not the version you would want to play. I get it. Like I do agree with that. No, I don't say NES. I never say NES. Yeah, the high def NES kit is installed on my top loader, so I mean that's all I really want out of you know, the analog consoles, is that, you know, obviously FPGA but HDMI out. And so I got HDMI out. I can play my NES games 1080p, and I just don't have a need to spend $500 on an analog NT. Yeah, Lily, I did catch you saying SNES, and that's funny because I know, because I said NES and a lot of my friends said NES where I grew up, when Super Nintendo came out and it was SNES, a lot of us just said SNES too. So I'm an offender of that as well. But whenever I record, kind of what we were talking about before, if I say NES or SNES in a video, somebody will call that out. Like, without a doubt, somebody will call that out. They'll say how annoying it is. They're unsubscribing. You don't know what you're talking about. It'll be all that stuff. Lily, you don't call it. Don't embarrass me on here. You don't call everything Nintendo. You don't do that. Come on. Hey, Super Dimensional. Is this a first, the live stream? No, this is like the third. I'm not regular with doing them. Yeah, that does seem to be the SNES and NES thing does seem to be more European, from what I could tell from people who post on forums that have their locations identified. Yeah, I mean, when I say Nintendo, I'm talking about the NES. And then I'm going to say Super Nintendo, obviously, for Super Nintendo. But just Nintendo means I'm talking about the 8-bit console. I do not have a Mister. I know a lot of people. I saw a couple names in this channel. People I know, channel chat. I saw a couple people in this chat who do have a Mister. It looks pretty cool. I mean, I would definitely love that. Every time I price that out, it seems like I'm not going to make that investment. I think if Mister came in a flavor that had a JAMA edge, or had an easy, I know the JPack exists, but if it came as a flavor with a JAMA edge, or there was an easy way to hook that up and just go, I think I'd be much more interested in the Mister. What's my Patreon? I don't have a Patreon, actually. I don't have PayPal. I don't have a Patreon. I don't have the whole subscription thing for the channel. I don't do that. So pretty much it's just watch the videos, and that's all I do. I try not. I don't know. That's another divisive thing. Every time you start doing that kind of stuff, people get funny about it, and I actually get messages from people saying how much they appreciate that I don't do that stuff, which it's hard because I'm like, well, what if I did want to do that stuff? No one's ever forcing anybody to subscribe and give money or anything like that, and I don't know. It's just something I've been asked about it. The whole join thing, like where you get little badges and whatnot through YouTube. I've actually created the badges. I've gone through the whole process of getting that set up, but I just I haven't done that. Oh, Destiny FOMO in the house. Destiny FOMO trying to just steal all my thunder here. Destiny FOMO also LI Retro in next Saturday, running a panel. It's like when I had who was that stopped by? I think was it GameSack and Smoke Monster, and I just had like everybody that's like bigger than me dropping into my chat, which is awesome. But at the same time, like, yeah, I'm teasing, of course. I love it. Yeah, Destiny has a OnlyFans, and that might be something that I consider in the future. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll just skip the Patreon and all that kind of stuff, and I'll just jump right to OnlyFans. I do have a lot of those good-looking games in the back, those Neo Geo carts, and you're developing a pretty healthy collection yourself, Destiny. Let's not pretend that you're not. We're actually just talking about consoleized boards, and I know Destiny. I think she has a CPS2 board that was HDMI modded and has a Darksoft kit on it, so that's a pretty sweet combo. We're just talking about that. I don't know if you caught that or not, Destiny. What were the consoles that I had growing up? Like my first. So my first console I got in '83. It was an Atari 2600. I got it for Christmas, and my game was E.T., which is terrible, Pac-Man, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Those were some tough games for a kid. Obviously, E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark was an early one. I don't remember if I got that right away, but it was one of the first few games I had. It wasn't until years later that I was able to actually beat Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I did. There's a video on the channel of me beating it one night when I'm like super tired, and I just was like, I'm going to beat Raiders of the Lost Ark and post it, and I did. But that was a big game for me. I played it a lot, even though I couldn't figure it out as a kid. But Atari 2600 was really my, you know, that was my first system, and then it wasn't, I mean, Nintendo had been out for a while, and I didn't get a Nintendo until, you know, much later in its life cycle. A lot of kids in the neighborhood had that before I did. I was still playing the 2600, which I don't regret looking back, because there's a lot of good games on that. But Nintendo would be my second console, and unlike most kids, I got Nintendo because I wanted Kung Fu, and I played Kung Fu in the arcade. Well, not in the arcade, but also at the airport. I grew up just outside of Harrisburg International Airport. Various reasons why I was there, we won't go into, but they had a Kung Fu machine at the Harrisburg International Airport. I play it whenever I was there, and when I saw that Kung Fu was coming out for Nintendo, that's what made me want a Nintendo system. I wanted to be able to play Kung Fu at home. So, yeah. The launch lineup for Super Nintendo, I want to say F-Zero, SimCity, obviously Super Mario Land, Pilot Wings, and Gradius, maybe? I think that's right. You guys can fact check me. Yeah, all three of those games were rough on the Atari. Crystal Castles. I had Crystal Castles for Atari as well. I love that game. And I was just shocked when because I played the Atari 2600 version first, and then when I saw it in the arcade eventually, it had the trackball, and I was like, what? Like, my mind was blown that it didn't have like a joystick like I thought it would, but you know, I was young. So we ran through the full hour here, guys, and kind of just testing things out here. And I know you guys indicated there's a little bit of a lag with the camera and the mic, and I tried to adjust for that, but thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I did mean Kung Fu Master. On NES, I think it's just called Kung Fu, but yeah, the arcade version is Kung Fu Master. All right, I'm gonna go for just another 2 minutes or so, just then we'll wrap up. But yeah, my first concert was the Atari. Console was the Atari 7800. Yeah, I never had a 7800. What kind of camera am I using? It's a Lumix G7 that's hooked up, just giving me the video, and then I've got the Blue Yeti mic running here. Everything's fine when I use the webcam on the laptop, but every time I do this, and even if I set a delay and test it, it always ends up progressively going out of sync through OBS. So, well, it's been a good Friday night. I appreciate everybody stopping by. It's been fun. We did talk a little bit of Neo Geo, shoot 'em ups, came up a lot, consoleizing systems. But I hope everybody stops by LI Retro next Saturday, August 8th. I'll be on at 2:30 doing something similar to this, only without the audio lag, and we'll be talking about arcade games and Neo Geo history. And I also might be on a little bit later in the day too, as kind of a guest with somebody else, so stay tuned for that. But I hope you guys definitely check that out. There's not been a lot of con action, unfortunately, due to the situation that's going on, so it's cool that LI Retro is trying to keep things going, and doing the virtual and live panels with everybody. So, hey Sigma, he came in right here at the end. So I think that's it for the stream, guys. I appreciate everybody stopping by for an hour, just hanging out and talking. Hope you guys all have a good weekend. I'll see you at LI Retro Feel free to hit me up on Twitter, Instagram. Keep watching the YouTube videos. Thanks everybody for stopping by.